Arafat's coffin was carried a short distance to his gravesite inside the half-demolished Ramallah compound where he spent the final years of his life. Some mourners were overcome with sorrow, others by the momentous occasion. To many here, Arafat was a hero, a father figure, and today they reclaimed him. The riotous scene forced officials to abandon plans for a ceremony. Palestinians say that his tomb here is temporary, that one day they will fulfill Arafat's wish, denied by Israel, that he be buried in Jerusalem. Instead, soil from the holy city was placed in his West Bank grave. Arafat leaves his people far from realizing their dream of an independent Palestine, branded as terrorists, mired in corruption and political crisis. They'll remember him, though, not for his failure to win them a state, but for giving them a sense of themselves as a nation.
Yasser Arafat had been under siege by the Israeli military for 2 years. The president was kept isolated in Ramallah as his health deteriorated steadily. At the end of the month, doctors said he was suffering from a bad case of the flu. But those around him began to suspect he had been exposed to poison. On the 28th of October, his wife crossed the Jordanian border to come and join Arafat in Ramallah after weeks of negotiations with the Israeli authorities.
What do you know about Arafat's condition?
She had not seen her husband since 2001. Now she would accompany him to Paris. Arafat left by helicopter for Jordan, where a medically equipped plane flew him to France. He thought he might return. Israel had agreed. But he got worse, not better.
In July of 2012, an Al Jazeera investigation which tested the clothes Arafat wore to the hospital in France found traces of polonium-210, which in 2004 was mostly unknown, but in 2006 had become infamous after the poisoning of ex-Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko. Unsurprisingly, a media firestorm followed the release of the documentary. Under enormous pressure, the Palestinians exhumed Arafat's body, which had never undergone an autopsy. The remains were tested by 3 separate teams, and when finally released, the Russian and French teams concluded that no poisoning occurred, but the Swiss team said that it was likely he had died of polonium poisoning. Attempts by Arafat's widow to use these results to have her husband's death thoroughly investigated followed, but the case was dropped in 2015, and her appeal to the European Court of Human Rights was rejected in 2021. Arafat's cause of death remains listed as a stroke, though the underlying cause of his deteriorating condition is still listed as unknown.
And this will be a hard one to prove if in fact it happened at all. It'll be a harder one to attribute if it did happen, to prove not just that it was poisoning, but who was behind it. But I will tell you this from having been in the region, as you all have been, people are going to believe what they believe after this is over, and it'll be the same thing they were thinking before.